Will he ever sip it, is the question. Or is he the type to smell and then spit it out? Yeah, no, he's just a smeller. Oh! Well, that's a waste. Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're on episode 3, The Runaway Room. Yo, okay, Castlevania time. Dang, that is shut up, this is so cool looking. What is this place again? This is the Lord Chief Justice's office, Naruhodo-san, in the Supreme Court of Great Britain. We had instructions to report here at this time. If circumstances were different, we were supposed to let the Lord Chief Justice know that we had arrived from Japan. Instead, we are here in a different capacity, as envoys to report the news of Kazuma-sama's death. If we want to remain here in Great Britain, I have to take Kazuma's place as the law student selected for the study tour. Good morning, sorry for keeping you. I don't know... Oh! Male Strongheart. So it's a combination of, like, Maelstrom and Strongheart? That's pretty strong. It's an honor to meet you, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, welcome to London, the capital of our glorious British Empire. Hey. Check. Whoa! Oh, wow! Oh, we inherited his armband. Lord Chief Justice? I think you were expecting a student of law for this study tour, weren't you? Mr. Kazuma Asogi, if my memory serves. That's right. The British government has already been telegraphed a full report on the situation. I understand the young man lost his life aboard the steamship bound for our shores. My country naturally extends its deepest condolences to yours. It is with some regret that I must inform you that the death of the young lawyer means this study tour arrangement can no longer proceed. If you would just hear us out, Lord Strongheart. I was wondering if perhaps you would consider allowing the study tour to go ahead. Don't misunderstand me. Britain would ideally like to see the tour go ahead, but without a lawyer from your country, there's nothing to be done. Well, in that case, what if there was someone else? Another lawyer from Japan, I mean. I don't actually have any qualifications as such, but... No qualifications, you say, and yet you still claim to be a lawyer. I've acted as a lawyer in court before. Mr. Asogi's journey had only just begun. Coming here on this study tour was all he thought about. I had to carry on and do everything he planned to do. I would do anything to prove that I have what it takes. Any test you care to set me. 31 seconds. Sorry? Your opening statement there, Mr. Naruhodo, it was 31 seconds long. Not too brief, not protracted. A perfectly judged appeal, I would say, which is a skill that would stand you in good stead as a lawyer. You say you intend to do everything Mr. Asogi planned to do. Are you firmly set on that path? Well, yes, that's my intention. I see. Am I imagining things, or did his expression just alter a fraction there all of a sudden? You have your wish. I'll give you a chance. A test to become a specially certified lawyer. Let's have you defend someone. Huh? If you manage to secure a verdict of not guilty, you'll have passed my test. What could be simpler? Well, could I ask what sort of trial it is, Lord Strongheart? Yes, good question. I remember. Murder, wasn't it? It's always murder. It's always murder. Yep, it's always murder. If the defendant is found guilty, he will of course be sentenced to capital punishment. Oh! So the defendant may live or die, depending on how well I perform in court? Mr. Naruhodo, you've come to me claiming to be a lawyer. If you want me to take you seriously, you need to prove you're willing to do a lawyer's job. And you say you intend to see through the will of your compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would like to understand just how far you're willing to go in order to make that happen.
He's testing my resolve.
I'm sorry, but time is pressing. The trial begins shortly. I need an answer from you now. What's it to be?
What do I say? Do I agree to this absurd test?
So, it's as I suspected, is it?
Sorry?
You have noble intentions, but lack the resolve to see them through. The test is cancelled. Thank you for stopping by.
It's not an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances, but resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it.
What are you trying to say, madam?
I think what Miss Sasato means is that no matter how badly I'd like to be recognized as a lawyer and stay here in Great Britain, to risk another man's life by treating his one and only chance at a trial so trivially would be utterly unforgivable. And I feel exactly the same way. I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, as some kind of experiment. A lawyer may fight for his clients in court day after day, but for each one of those clients, the particular day they stand in the dock may be the only chance they have the fight to prove they're innocent. I'm not qualified to do that job yet. I'm sorry for wasting your precious time, Lord Chief Justice.
Wait, Mr. Naruhodo. It's approximately 20 minutes by carriage to the Old Bailey from here. If you leave immediately, you should still be there in time.
But I just said that.
I was quite serious in what I told you. The defendant in this case has literally no one to advocate for him. The cold, hard truth of the matter is that there is only one person now with a chance to save this man from a very miserable end. And that is you. What do you say now, madam?
Me? What do you mean, Mr. Strongheart?
You said it wasn't an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances. And I agree. But in my estimation, it is purely and simply a matter of resolve. The Old Bailey.
Oh, thank goodness we're in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. Maybe he's just a little guy. Would you look at those expressionless faces? From the East are yous. So, how much do yous need? Let me start by giving yous 1,000 guineas. Say nothing now. 1,000 guineas? That's a lot of pigs. 'Tis nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see. I've enough wealth to buy the City of London 2 or 3 times over. Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. Oh, it hit me in the eye. Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving it to you, no strings attached. The trial that's about to begin, you see, is for me good self here. I'll be in the dock. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Visually, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now. Oh, the thing is, don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is stand up there next to me, nothing more. Otherwise, you see, well, the trial is going to start without me having any kind of representation at all. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendant in this trial? Bluster and blazes! Do yous not know who I am? Me? One of London's biggest names? Well, just next to Hyde Park, there in the centre of London, is another beautiful park. 'Tis called McGilded Park, full of blossoming flowers in spring and singing birds and whatnot. I donated it to the city, so I did. Oh, an entire park in central London. A city of smiles, that's my vision for London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for a city and its queer old people. But now they've had the gall to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Mr. McGilded, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students on a study tour from Japan, you see. Why don't you have a lawyer, I mean? That would be the fault of the Reaper. The Grim Reaper of the Bailey, Lord Baroque Van Zykes. He's the prosecutor. In every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. Huh? Please make your way to the courtroom. The trial's about to begin. His counsel, that would be me. Oh, it is time. Well then, fella, don't let me down. But I don't know anything about the case. Until you showed your face here. I'd made up me mind, so I had. Sorry? I decided I'd have to defend myself in there. How would that have worked? Well, then you made an appearance, a student of law, wouldn't you know? 'Tis no accident, I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please. I literally know nothing about the case or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't turn my back on him. That's an interesting thing. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty baller. Oh, frick, what? Why is there 5? What? Whoa. Wait. Does this have a jury system? Oh, what's this? Oh my god. Oh, you're a big fluffy man.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is fully prepared. I don't know if he has a vampire voice or not, but I might go with it.
Counsel for the defense, you appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English?
Huh? Oh, yeah, yes, sir. Of course, sorry.
Now, Mr. McGilded, you stand accused of murder, capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner?
Oh no. As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young, even if this fella's a student from some little island off in the Far East. Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance? I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Listen to Mr. McGilded. What a fine gentleman London has in him. Did you hear that he donated £5,000 to the government the other day? Mother, please, may we go and play in McGilded Park? Mother! It's Mother, please!
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed? Yes, my lord. If the task is to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready.
At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of the rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Any criminals here will be soon wishing they never set eyes on me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I feel a chill.
Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson.
Prosecutor Van Zykes, it's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you renounced your fame. Was there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware?
I leave that to your imagination, my lord.
As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please.
Certainly, my lord. The incident took place in the late evening. 3 days passed. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks, known in the community as Thrice Fried Mason. Of course his name is Mason.
He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible.
The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here's the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard.
Thank you, counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence.
Internal hemorrhaging as a result of a single stab wound in the abdomen. Photograph. A knife is clearly visible, but his face is partially obscured by an old crooked cap. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves. The actual scene of the crime, that is. Bailiff, bring forth the stricken omnibus. I swear if it's in the... Oh my god, it's just right here. It's just in the middle of the courtroom. Shut up. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. 4 passengers seated inside in the enclosed cabin,
and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. There's a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here. Can we, like, just look at this whole thing? I click to open it. Nice. What's this? Okay. This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. So it's a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems. There doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure. It's quite a large skylight, isn't it? And there doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any description. So I suppose it can't be opened from the inside the cabin, at least. That's blood that soaked into the seat. The victim's, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. One further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. What? Mr. McGilded's gloves had blood on them? According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2? Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other? That's a strong point. Was the accused, Magus McGilded. To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening, but whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness, and I always succumb to it. And when I opened my eyes again, 'twas a desperate sight before me, the body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in me life. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I mean, to be fair, I agree. You'd go, oh God, and try to help him by putting your hand there to stop the bleeding. I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. Unfortunately, that statement of the driver's is only the beginning. There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once. Who do we got? Oh! Okay. Various states of gentlemen. Witnesses, your names and occupations.
Ah, my name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End.
Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city.
My name's First.
Oh my God, Lady First, Ladies First, shut up. Shut up, that's such a good name.
It was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well. Old Beppo.
Hold it! Tell me more about that, Beppo. Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, sir, that's right, sir, yes. I have to say, the boss insists on it running, he does, every evening, the last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, sorry to say.
What do you mean by that?
Well, what with it being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spend that much in the pub on my way home just trying to warm up again.
The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus.
Okay. Next to each other, you say? Next to each other? That'd be a very difficult stab. You saw them through the skylight in the roof of the carriage?
That's right.
Yeah, they're beside each other. What are you talking about? That's weird then. But you would only be able to see if there was... you wouldn't see the other side.
The 2 of them were wearing hats, so I couldn't exactly make out their faces. But there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded.
Let's not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded.
And out of the blue, the accusers reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts.
You actually saw the exact moment it happened?
Didn't I already testify to that?
Oh, my lord.
Juror number 3, what's the meaning of this?
My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up.
Made up about what?
I don't like this stinking rich. Never have. They're always up to something or something or other. They shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me.
Oh, shoot. Whoa.
Well, there's no point in wasting time listening anymore of this. That's my opinion on the matter anyway.
That's precisely what I was about to say.
Oh, shoot.
As a foreman of the jury, it's my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors.
That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed, I did. Couldn't help it.
He stabbed him, you say? And you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you?
Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed.
Is this the knife you saw?
Oh, good grief. Yes, that's it, the very one, sir.
And furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. The letter M, which seems oddly...
That could mean anything. But there are M's everywhere.
Yes! Like in Mason?
Objection!
Oh, he has a fancy objection. His blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned.
My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption.
Those of us in service know we must accept hard truths.
Wait, what are you about to do?
Dispose of the rubbish. This is going wonderfully. I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all trace of filth and grime. Ma'am? I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion.
Well, as soon as I heard the scream, I stopped at my bus, and then I saw it too.
Yeah, what exactly did you see? Can you be specific about that, please?
Oh, well, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes, collapsed on the floor he was.
And by passenger, obviously you were referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker.
And the other passenger had the knife in his hand, like this.
By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded.
And then he plunged it in like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly.
My lord, I wish to speak. As master of the London Guild coachman, the idea of murder being committed by the city's characters is utterly abhorrent to me. But it wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. Okay, well, here I go. Get up now, Silver Blaze, and finish it in sight. Bama was a long-standing member of the Guild, not sure what the man says.
Madam Juror number 6.
Yes, dear? What can I do for you?
You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand. Pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning?
There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have it in him to take another man's life.
He's always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab anyone, surely.
Mother, may we go to McGilded Public Library and borrow some more books?
How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know what kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is? The philanthropist. Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. The victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed, oh no, was the final repayment date for his debts. I don't believe it. Oh. If I might add something briefly. Mrs. Sato. You claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded. But where's the evidence to support your claim? Did he always have the glass and the... Oh no, because that's a new prop. I swear to God if you throw this glass. I swear to God if you throw this glass. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hollowed chalice in the court of law.
Oh, there it is! Lord Van Zyke's hollowed chalice. Oh, it's so cool.
What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You'll find the victim's name clearly recorded inside.
Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. And it's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel.
Oh no! Don't you dare.
Still, maybe it's all for the best.
Wait a minute! Let's think about this a little more before...
I don't stand for nonsense.
So did we just lose? When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the... Oh no! Oh! There's a footnote, though. A footnote. However, the defense...
What? All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case.
Can you talk faster, Sussy-chan? Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. You were in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense... What did it say next? Oh, yes, of course. One moment. Why'd you close it? When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. What even is it, Miss Sato? This so-called summation examination. Oh, one moment, and I'll read about it. It seems that under this procedure, we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what, exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decisions. And it says here that, if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed.
Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But that procedure had been somewhat of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it fell out of use.
I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
You can't object to that. We're within our rights. London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried. No, you.
The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? I'm not, there was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so, all members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision.
The key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against... Oh, interesting.
There's no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him.
I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence.
He's stuck with the chap right next to him like this. Brazen, I must say, absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion.
You can trust the guild. Fair fare's our motto. We haven't raised prices over 4 pence for years.
A scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor beggars belief.
Wait, totaling 20 pence. And then this one was fair prices. We haven't raised above 4 pence for years. That's, I can literally see right here. 4 times 4 is not 20. That would be 4 times 5. Those two statements clearly contradict each other. According to the group... Oh, yo, he's walking! There's walking! According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question, and according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. And juror number 5 also told us the following: the fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence.
But it is a very convenient single price. That's the way London's carriages should be operated.
But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts. It would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare.
1 person's fare?
Yes, in other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible. There was another passenger we've heard nothing about, Mr. Guildmaster. I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus.
Alright then, how do I make it so that this miserable trial doesn't end,
Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire onto the innocent side of the set of scales.
Now hold your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Why do you have to go and... Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo. Hoo-ha! Oh, this is all very irritating.
Begging your pardon, sir, I'm going to do the same. I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. So you're saying stuck in... You're saying stuck in on the floor. That's impossible. How could it be like that and also on the floor? Those two statements are completely contradictory. We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3.
What? Can't you see I'm busy here?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it?
Huh. Want to test me, do ya? It was like this. Stuck the fellow right next to him without getting up. Just like the prim banker said.
Now then, juror number 6.
Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam?
Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so.
Now don't move. Take a look at these 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow right next to him without getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth. If the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth.
Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies.
What exactly is the problem? What if 2 of the witnesses have slightly different recollections of the events?
Well, that's not how reality works, brother.
Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he sat next to him on the omnibus, and this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then the Shylock stabbed him again, and this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that,
What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. It's out of the question that the 2 witnesses saw 2 different moments of the same crime, as proven by... single stab wound. Yeah, right here.
Take that!
It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely 1 time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen 2 different times. Grr. All right, I concede defeat.
Well, in a quite remarkable turn of events, the defense's summation examinations flipped the balance of the scales of justice, and juries now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate, and a trial must continue.
It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. So, let us proceed to the next round of battle.
Oh, frick. He did the Yakuza.
Bring forth the witnesses once more.
Oh, I ordered carried for the passengers that night. I swear it, but
Well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus. Bambro, explain yourself.
I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster.
Give fares from Prince across the board, you know that. If I don't say that we don't charge our passengers by paying fare. Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands.
Yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes.
So then let's press it and there'll probably be a reaction here. Earlier, you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you?
Oh, I really thought I did, but oh, when I go over it again into my head, no, I suppose I did actually see the precise moment of the stabbing, didn't I?
Whoa, Struth. My man popped a Struth. I'm gonna pursue you.
Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? I'll ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that all right. I'll tell you just how grim it was. You think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after the butcher stabbed...
Blood-soaked hands? Well, I'm sorry to Oh, the hand resting on the sword. That's really good. I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth? I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate. He's claiming to have no reason to lie, but is that really the case? Something to show this man has a compelling reason to lie in his testimony. Could it be money boy? Oh, wait. I can't read any of this. Goodness. What is it? Look at this. Do you see the name here? Bruce. Oh, there we go. That's what I was thinking. I do have evidence. Just thank you for letting me scrounge around my bag for a bit. Among the names of these debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case?
Well, the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to capital punishment. All outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled.
Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant?
It makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on McGilded's hands, both of them.
And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained.
Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself, as it happens.
Seeing what?
The blood, sir, on the assailant's hands. I think, yes. I'm almost sure that it was on both his hands, not just one.
What?
It would appear that we are going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. There is blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters.
I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attacker's hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself. No, not until I heard the scream.
Anyway, the fact remains there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we all would have seen.
That's where it lies. Let's see.
Objection!
The music stopped. That means we did it. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay.
You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight in the floor of the upper deck. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
In that case, there's a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. The seat opposite, the one in which the victim and his attacker were sitting, is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses could have been completely unaware of it.
I cannot entertain this conjecture, Counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude.
Is it actually meant to be that Magus McGilded was there and it was someone else beside him?
Take that!
That's the answer.
Objection!
What? Why? I mean, that's sick. That's awesome, but why? If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hollowed chalice, do forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zykes! Was cool as shit, yo.
People talk of those tiny Allow me to be racist for a moment, if you will. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and the assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses have attested to that fact. It is the very premise on which this case is built. But that premise may be wrong. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify. And the victim's blood was on that passenger's hands. Both of them.
Objection!
And who was this third party? Obviously, the true culprit.
Extraordinary!
There was no third passenger in that cabin. How can you be sure? Because if there had been, the accused Mr. McGilded would undoubtedly have would have offered to depose that fact.
Mr. McGilded, there are now two matters on which this court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin as proposed by the defense. The second is that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police?
I do be having a very good reason, I assure you. The little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and not in any way involved, you see. Oh, if the police had known the wee one was there, oh, they'd have assumed she'd done it. She, okay, that's a she, okay. They'd have hauled her into this here courtroom just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings. What? Bang! Sorry, what? What? A smoke! What? Fire! There's a fire! Look, someone's trying to get away! What? We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that for the time being at least, the trial was suspended. Mr. Naruhodo, I've managed to find out what happened. I was told it was an advanced form of smoke grenade. Who would have done something like that? The police managed to catch someone who was trying to flee the courtroom. Oh, it's a young girl of around 15, I hear. A young girl? Then could it be the other passenger Mr. McGilded was just talking about? There's the young girl next to Mr. McGilded. Look. She must have been the one who caused the disturbance before.
Well, after that rather eventful recess, the court will now resume the trial of Mr. Magnus McGilded. Your name, girl? What is the meaning of this deplorable behavior?
If I may, my lord.
Yes, Mr. McGilded.
Oh, I think perhaps I ought to explain here. Why is it that his wee lass here was here in the first place, and why she tried to bolt like that? 'Tis all tied up with the events of that night, so it is.
Very well, Mr. McGilded. Give your testimony.
On the night in question, I took the back seat in the omnibus and promptly nodded off. Oh, then begorra! A loud thud and a wee scream woke me up with a fair start. Oh, there was a fella collapsed on the floor at me feet, so I sat him up on the seat across from me, and then I turned to find where that scream had come from, and bless my soul, what did I find? Bless your soul, what did you find? I'm sure you told the court that there was no one else in the carriage except yourself and the victim. So I did, sir, so I did. Well, as far as I could see, that is... What do you mean by that? Oh, that wee scream I heard as I woke up.
Oh, it came from, if you'll excuse the vulgar expression, under me backside. And when I lifted the seat on which I'd been sitting, I found there was a wee cubby hole there for storage.
I think it wants us to go look at it right now. Even though we found it earlier, but... Because there was this, right? Did we look at this? We looked at this, right? Blood, isn't it? Something wrong? It was just, well... Bloodstain is so obvious, that's all, and yet Van Zykes has made no mention of it. Was this there before? See, there's a handle. We open her up. Wait. Wasn't there stuff in here before? Something doesn't seem right here, but I can't put... There was stuff in here before. Oh no. In the chaos, they took the evidence. There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away.
Hold it!
That's... But if it was full of the stuff... I pulled her out from under there. And sat her on the seat opposite so I could have a wee chinwag with her.
You sat this young girl next to a corpse, sir? In other words, the previous witnesses did not in fact see you at all, Mr. McGill did. What they believed to be yourself, and the victim was in fact this girl and the late Mr. Mason?
With a scream from the gentleman over us, the driver realized something was wrong and pulled up the horses.
At least one conundrum remains. Who is the girl?
Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds, relieving people of their purses.
Is this true, Miss Lestrade? Miss Lestrade, you will answer the question.
That's a gun. Oh, frick, she's gone. Open your eyes. I'm over here. I know what you lot are thinking. Grown-ups are all the same. This dirty little dipper, you'll say, slipped up and got caught on the job. She got herself backed into a corner, so she knifed the gent. Go on, that's what's in your heads, isn't it? No, not at all. I've committed to this accent. Look, knives are for cowards. Only thugs use weapons like that. All I need for what I do is these fingers. Let me guess. You don't count smoke guns among weapons for thugs? Oh, this? Yeah, this was in a bag I lifted the other day down where they keep the four-wheel drags. It's nice, isn't it? It says in it. There's an in it.
The court accepts this girl, Miss Gina Lestrade, as a valid and significant witness in this case. Accordingly, young lady, we'll now hear your testimony, if you please.
So I snuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always. But it was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night. I'll tell you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's a pitch in there. Then after a while, I hear this loud bang. Nearly jumped out me skin, I did. And the scream just came out. It's because of that this swell found me. He did help me get away, mind. You see, she couldn't have possibly killed the other passenger. I knew that for a fact. I was sitting right on top of the place where she was hiding herself. Aye, but of course, the wee lass was stuck in there. Because I parked myself on the seat for the duration. I knew that if the police found her there, they'd automatically assume she'd done it. But I couldn't live with myself if a young life was ruined, when all the time I knew she was innocent.
Even though you must have realized your action resulted in your own innocence being called into question.
Not at all, my lord, not at all. I knew in my own heart that I was innocent. So I thought it was worth taking a punt on my own good name for the sake of this less fortunate lass. My goodness. What a perfect gentleman.
My lord, this fine example of a man cannot possibly be guilty of a heinous crime like this. I'm ashamed of myself ever doubting you, sir.
Oh, frick. With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time.
Wait, if that's everyone, then that's just it, right? But is he gonna do a summation examination?
Mr. Naruhodo, this, what, it must mean
what?
That we're victorious.
We've won? Are you sure?
Objection!
What?
Buddy. Buddy. This really is a consummate example of the one monumental flaw in British judicial practices. Where evidence and reasoning should be paramount, emotion rules the day. After the incident, the omnibus was comprehensively searched by officers of the police. Obviously, the interior of this cubbyhole, as the witness put it, was included in their investigation. A compartment under the posterior seat was full of the coachman's belongings. It's noted in black and white here in the police report.
Good Lord!
The evidence has been tampered with. Well, my Nipponese friend. No, I agree with you, actually. What can I say about the state of that little compartment under the seat in the omnibus? It wasn't empty.
What are you saying now, you daft daw? I thought you were on my side here.
What game are you playing? Your task is to defend the man in the Yeah, but the truth is what matters. Why would you say something to compromise his position? I confess I'm still not entirely sure where I stand. But it seems to me that I should state what facts I do know as clearly and honestly as possible. Interesting.
Promise that I was permanently maintain this man right on his carriage. I'm going to say I'm best properly and fully equipped at all times, so it certainly wouldn't have been empty on the night in question. Bimbo was not responsible. And burning London Fraser and the big bear's lion.
Oh, I can't believe I was nearly taken in. That stinking rich are always stinkers. Oh, it's a trick. Of course it's a trick.
Quite so. I must concur here.
Thank you, counsel. But before we proceed any further, there is the matter of the outstanding cross-examination.
Blind and could... Didn't mean to press that. Didn't mean to press that. That's the wrong button. Okay. Oh, hello. This is new. This didn't pop up before. This didn't pop up last time.
Oh, no. 'Twas nothing important. Oh, I was feeling bad for the poor lasses all. I remember feeling desperate myself as a young lad shut up in the dark. 'Twas terrifying, so it was. I find the darkness seems to make everything you hear seem that much louder as well. Yeah,
Miss Lestrade, did you hear something that night? Anything? An unusual noise, perhaps?
Nah, not really. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. What should we make of the last statement of hers?
That's significant. Oh, frick, I chose the wrong one.
I was straining my ears to work out what was going on, but all I could hear was snoring.
So let's just pursue this more. So you were straining to hear what was happening the entire time.
I was waiting to jump out there as soon as I heard him leave, see? But would he? Not likely. Even though we stopped in there, never heard the door open.
Miss Lestrade, what you just told the court is clearly at odds with the facts.
What? At odds? But are you sure, man?
Absolutely. You've been quiet for some time, buddy. It seems my learned Nipponese friend is not as dull-witted as I feared. So Van Zykes realized it too.
I must insist that you bolster your claim with evidence, or some complicit party's name at the very least.
Yes, my lord. Him?
Thrice fired Mason?
Yes, my lord. The sound that Miss Lestrade cannot have failed to hear is that of the victim, Oh. She totally did say she heard no one else getting on. When and how did the victim end up in the carriage? Did the murder occur on top of the carriage and then get pushed down into the seat in front of them? You have demonstrated matters impeccably. This witness and her colorful statements are entirely unreliable. Oh, you even got Granny off your side.
I cannot abide liars.
Yes, the witness's last statement seems to have revealed a critical inconsistency in her story. However, If we consider the possibility that her statement is in fact the truth, it may shed an entirely new light on this case. If this petty thief's words are to be... Because that would make sense. The sound of it falling would be a lot louder if it came from way up above. How do you explain the victim's miraculous appearance inside the cabin of the omnibus? If the door wasn't opened even once, the only explanation is that the victim entered the enclosed cabin some other way.
Objection.
I wondered what new fantasy you would come up with in your blind panic. There is no entrance to the cabin other than the door. Nuh-uh.
All right, Counsel. Where on earth is the entrance by which you propose the victim enter the cabin?
Right here.
The answer is obvious. It can only have been the skylight. Both Mr. McGilded and Miss Lestrade said the same in their testimonies. They each claimed to have heard a loud thud, such as the noise made by someone falling to the floor.
Yes, which has already been explained, as the sound of the victim falling from his seat and having been assaulted with a dagger.
Yes, it has, but would a man slipping from the seat onto the floor really have made such a loud noise that the witnesses described? It wouldn't. It's like barely a noise. You're now suggesting that the victim fell from the skylight into the cabin. That's simply impossible. How can you be so sure? Because if the victim had fallen inside through the skylight, as you say, the passengers on the roof deck would have seen it happen.
I think perhaps the two fellas do be having something of a compelling reason, not to mention what happened.
Oh, they're up.
Yes, what exactly are you insinuating here, you blitherer?
What are you doing?
Mr. Fairplay, Mr. First. My lord,
You
will take the stand again and make another formal testimony in reference to the indictment brought by the defense. We were the only two people up on that roof deck, dead or alive, I can swear to that.
If anything happened while we were sitting, didn't you think one or the other of us would have noticed?
In any case, neither of us know the first thing about the victim. We had no reason to kill the man.
The skylight was shut the entire time, I tell you. We couldn't possibly have opened it.
If you're so sure the victim fell through the skylight, where's your proof?
If we open it and go inside, is there going to be something to check? Oh, frick. Is that blood? Oh, my God. This is what we want. Yeah, we're going to present. Right there.
Objection.
Boom. On the night in question, the victim was fatally stabbed in the stomach. And immediately afterwards, the victim's body was pushed through the skylight into the cabin below. Those are the facts. The irrefutable proof remains clearly visible in the omnibus that stands before us today in this very courtroom.
Where exactly within the omnibus is this evidence to which you allude? You will point out what it is with that little finger of yours, how he fell through the skylight.
I'm pointing my little fingy. Right here, my lord.
All right, present.
Got it. This bloodstain proves two things. Firstly, when the incident occurred, the skylight of the omnibus was open.
What?
And secondly, the victim was already bleeding when he fell through the opening.
Oh my.
And so it follows that Mr. McGilded, who was inside the enclosed cabin himself at the time, cannot possibly be guilty of this. So, like, this should be the open and shut end.
My fellow jury members, I think we can all agree that this is clear proof of the defendant's innocence, can't we?
Objection.
No such smear of blood existed in the carriage. At least, not until this trial began.
But are you suggesting, Lord Van Zykes, that the stain of blood was...
Fabricated, my lord? Yes.
The blood on the skylight didn't exist, you say? But if you would all cast your minds back, is it not true that the omnibus there has been in the courtroom the entire time? How could anyone possibly have put a smear of blood on it without the world and his wife seeing?
My learned friend.
Yeah? At least you're not adding race to that now.
Here's to hearing your opinion on the matter in your own words. As you wish. Could someone have tampered with the omnibus during this trial? If you're asking me, I think it's absolutely possible. In terms of having the opportunity to carry out the alleged tampering, there is one possibility. Yep, during the smoke bomb. It seems my learned Nipponese friend has no intention of running away from this deceit.
Deceit?
The courtroom was filled with smoke, and everyone was thrown into confusion. All of us were made to leave the chamber. In that brief interval, under the veil of smoke and in all the chaos, it could have been possible to steal inside the omnibus.
You're supposed to be defending me. 'Tis a wicked plot. 'Tis a plot to undermine me, so it is.
Whatever you think this is, it changes nothing. The facts are the same. After this courtroom was evacuated earlier as a result of the smoke grenade, a number of inconsistencies materialized in relation to the omnibus. If the question is whether that evidence is genuine, or whether it was unlawfully fabricated by someone, I feel compelled to admit there's at least a possibility that the evidence is fake. Oh, he's not happy.
Memory, recollection, what people think they saw. 'Tis all nonsense. Facts are what counts, and the fact is that bloodstain is there now.
Well,
And over the course of this desperate trial, long and extremely drawn out as it has been, that good-for-nothing Reaper of the Bailey has failed to present any decisive evidence at all. I'm scandalized, so I am. I'd thought better of the Lord Van Zykes.
Well, my lord? I must concur with the defendant. The unaffirmed recollections of an individual cannot stand as evidence. I regret to say that it would be improper for this trial to continue. Lord Van Zykes, what's your position?
The prosecution, my lord, has no further witnesses or evidence to present.
Counsel for the defense, your closing statement, please.
Yes, my lord. The defense believes the defendant is innocent. I believe the defendant, Magnus Begilded, to be innocent of the allegations brought against him. Here's to you, my Nipponese friend, and the most abject closing I have yet to hear in a court of law.
Oh, 'twas a grand decision to appoint you as my lawyer, so it was a grand decision. You've saved one of London's most, well, influential gentlemen, fella. You should be proud of yourself.
I hereby pronounce the verdict of this court.
Oh, frick. But we still haven't determined if the bloodstain in the omnibus is genuine or not. We don't know if these witnesses are telling the truth or a pack of lies. We have no idea about the truth.
The case made by the prosecution was flawed, plain and simple. If indeed the omnibus presented as evidence was tampered with, the prosecution is at fault for allowing such a graceful perversion of justice to take place.
My sincerest apologies, my lord.
Objection.
But wait! When we were evacuated from the courtroom, Lord Van Zykes ordered the evidence to be secured.
I'm afraid the prosecution cannot shun responsibility in this matter.
That's so unfair.
A culpability of the defendant has not at the present time been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to prefer judgment.
Magnus Begilded.
Oh, good grief! You've more to say to me, have you?
Just one thing. A warning. This is far from over.
Well, something to be looking forward to then.
I hereby pronounce the defendant, Mr. Magnus Begilded, not guilty.
We get the... Yeah, we still get the confetti. Dang. That seems incredibly unsafe in an enclosed room with stuff made of wood. I suppose we should be happy. The trouble is, we're still completely in the dark about what actually happened. The sole aim of the defense is to obtain a verdict that exonerates the defendant. You carried out your duty to perfection. Hi, that you did. I don't think it was so much thanks to me as down to your planning. You're a straight-talking fella, aren't you? Oh, there's only one thing that matters to me. Huh? Aye. Money? Oh, they've all seen that I didn't do the odious and abstinent deed. 'Tis grand, is it not? So then, as we agreed aforehand, 1,000 guineas for your trouble, fella. Oh, no, I couldn't possibly accept that much. Aye, be whist. You're a humble people, are ye? You from the east?
Mr. Magnus McGilded?
Oh, it's this officer. 'Tis sooner than I was led to believe.
I hope it's not inconvenient, sir. There were some changes to the schedule.
Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis time for the inspection. Sorry? What inspection? Oh, they're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. So then, fare thee well. 'Twas an absolute pleasure meeting yous. I hope you have a whale of a time while you're studying here in Great Britain. We're not done with him. We're going to go to the next trial, and he's going to be back. I'm calling it now. Oh, I forgot she was here, too. No, stop. That's illegal to do in here. Please don't do that. Please. Don't move. Miss Lestrade, would you mind putting that thing down? You're a grown-up. Sorry? And I hate all grown-ups. There you are. Who's this? Oh, frick! There she is. Naughty, running off like that. Is this some kind of a picnic? Who's this sassy lost child? And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Ha! Oh my god, do they work together? Oh my god. What the frick? Excuse me, but who are you? Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine. The inventor? Well, normal smoke grenades are so dull, don't you agree? White, and more white. If you have to be shrouded in smoke, it could at least be a pretty color, I thought to myself. Do we have to be shrouded in smoke, though? At all? I just took my eyes off it for a moment whilst I was changing onto a different omnibus, and she pinched it. Luckily, I fitted it with a telegraphic beacon. What? I have no idea what this girl's talking about. Anyway, you're coming with me now. Back to my laboratory. What for? To apologize, of course, silly. You must say sorry when you've done something wrong. Surely an adult has told you that before. Oh, an adult? I don't listen to no adult. Just pulls out a rocket launcher. Fine, have it your way. Oh, good. You see, I knew you'd want to do the right thing in the end. I'm fairly sure that what she wants is not to get shot by that massive gun of yours. I have no comments on what just happened. Well, do you think we perhaps ought to be on our way now, too? Yeah, you're right, but, where to? Oh, we haven't had time to find a place to stay. No sooner had we arrived in London than we had to rush here. Don't worry, though, I have a plan. If worse comes to worse, I've heard of a lovely park where we could spend the night. Please tell me you're not thinking of McGilded Park. I know it may be a little chilly at this time of year, but our youthfulness will see us through. I'm not sure about that. I'm starting to regret turning Mr. McGilded down. 1,000 guineas would have paid for a lovely warm room. Or a mansion. The trial to determine my worthiness for the study tour was over by the end of our first day in London. However, as we were soon to learn, there were more trying times ahead. I mean, of course, you're in murder world, buddy. Just as the Reaper of the Bailey had warned. The case was far from over. What?
What's going on? Get the fire brigade! Water! Bring water, quick!
Really?
There's someone in there!
Oh no, not Judge!